Adam Taurus and Tyrian Callows are two extremely capable fighters and very dangerous people in the world of Remnant, both of which are not really on the right side of the law. Tyrian being a convicted serial killer, and Adam, although not convicted, is technically a serial killer in his own right. Whenever he was on missions for the White Fang, he took great pleasure in killing any humans he happened to come across. Not to mention also killing Sienna Khan, but yeah. We're going to be pitting these two against one another in a 1v1 match as the next exhibition match of the Phoenix Festival tournament. They are going to be fighting to a full aura break, though physical damage will still be dealt given the nature of Tyrion's semblance. It's pretty much a guarantee. We're going to be looking at their weapons, semblances, fighting styles, and determining who would be more likely to win a fight if something like this was to end up taking place. Now, they're going to be using Amity Coliseum as the stage. There is no such thing as a ring out, so they'll just be fighting until one of them goes down. They won't be, dismembering each other or killing one another, as much as Tyrion may like that idea. We're going to assume that the characters will follow these rules. They are going to be following the match that took place after Weiss and Neo. And in the comments below that video, most people are in agreement, or at least the majority is, that Neo would end up winning that fight. Although Weiss definitely has the more versatile arsenal with the variability of her glyphs, the amount of abilities that she has access to, plus her summons, Neo just has more experience fighting and is just a more capable fighter. Not to mention with the ability of her overactive imagination, her semblance giving her a slight advantage, Neo would end up winning. Though it's not a guarantee, it seems she is more likely, at least people think, to end up winning that fight. So Neo did end up being the winner. But let's get into today's match between Adam and Tyrion, starting off with Tyrion. Now Tyrion, he is an extremely capable fighter, as we've seen him take on in multiple situations, multiple opponents, and be able to hold his own very easily. His fighting style doesn't involve him just using his weapons or his stinger. He uses all 5 of his limbs. His scorpion tail, his feet, his arms, everything. So he can take on multiple opponents at once and is very capable at doing so. So in 1v1, that's going to be a lot to keep up with because Tyrion will be using, at the very least, both of his arms and his stinger to attack his opponent. So 3 points of contact to have to avoid instead of just, the normal 2 or 1, depending on what weapon most people would fight with. Speaking of weapons, Tyrion's weapons resemble his scorpion pincers. Going with the whole scorpion motif, considering Tyrion is a scorpion faunus, he uses the Queen's servants. Because, of course, everything he does is in service of our Queen. Though, it makes me wonder what weapons he used, or at least what he called his weapons before he became part of Salem's Inner Circle, because they wouldn't be called the Queen's servants back then. I wonder if he fought with a different weapon or something, but that's a different topic entirely. Tyrion uses these weapons, since they are bladed on both sides, we don't actually know if they can perform a pinching function, similar to, a scorpion's pincers, but he uses these to slash at his opponent, of course. And they also have double-barreled guns underneath the slashing portions of them in and of itself, so he can have both ranged and slashing attacks. So it seems the ranged attacks are more used for distraction than actual damage. If he can get the jump on an opponent, he can deal some damage with them, but that's not really what he uses for the main purpose. Tyrion is a close combat fighter. And he, of course, is close combat because of using his abilities, both his semblance and his useful scorpion trait, his unique faunus trait in the form of his scorpion tail and the poison that it holds. Now, using his semblance of aura disruption, though I personally like calling it poison aura, as that's exactly how it acts, he can make his aura toxic to another person's and disrupt it in a certain area for a short period of time. This is not Tyrion breaking a person's aura, this is just disrupting it so he can get in a quick attack, as we saw against what he used against Fiona in episode 6 of RWBY Volume 7. Now, this is the only time we've seen it used. We don't really know more about it, that if Tyrion uses this semblance, because we know his hands glow purple, we don't know if the rest of his aura has to be deactivated for that to be used, because that would kind of fit with his fable, based on the scorpion and the frog. He attacks the frog, but leaves himself vulnerable because he's getting, taken across a river, and both of them end up dying, and that's supposedly just in his nature. would kind of fit if the rest of his aura is deactivated and leaves himself vulnerable, but we don't actually know, so we can't necessarily use that as the case in this fight. But if Tyrian is able to disrupt a person's aura, it is notable that he can't just cloak his weapon in his semblance and then slash and disrupt the aura at the same time. He has to do it in 2 separate actions. He swipes at a person's aura and then uses his weapon to slash, or his stinger to poison them. Now, this is something that is very notable because you have to be very quick to do this, and Tyrian is definitely very quick. He's able to adapt in battle very quickly. When he fought against Team Ranger, he was able to take all of them on, easily run around and get behind opponents, not to mention being very strong, able to block Nora when she was charged up with electricity just with his tail alone, and use his hearing alone to block RWBY's sniper bullets, so he's very capable. Relies more on his hearing than his sight, it seems, and is just an extremely dangerous fighter with a lot of capabilities, but a close combat fighter nonetheless. Then we get to Adam, who is definitely no slouch on the battlefield either, who is also a mostly close combat fighter as he heavily relies on his weapon, Wilt, which is the blade. Blush is also his scabbard, also functioning as a rifle, in battle. He uses his blade in both conjunction with his semblance and fighting style to deal extremely devastating blows. His semblance is similar to Yang's in the fact that it can absorb power and then release it back outwards, but it's notable that he doesn't have to release the power upon immediately getting it. He can store it up for a while, wait until it's stored up to the point where he can literally slash and disintegrate an opponent. We saw this in the Black trailer when he disintegrated the spider droid. Don't really know if that's something that was just shown in the Black trailer and has been errated since then, but yeah. Adam's semblance has the ability to store massive amounts of power and deal it back in a devastating blow. Though, he won't be disintegrating anyone in this fight or dismembering someone, but, he could definitely slice through someone's aura in a single blow, as he did with Yang back in Volume 3. Now, it is notable about that. We only saw Adam absorb the power from 2 of Blake's shots. I don't know if that was the only power that Adam absorbed, though, because he can absorb power and store it for longer periods of time. And it's not just from bullet impacts that he can absorb power. In his fight with Blake and Yang at the end of Volume 6, he was absorbing power from Yang's punches and from Yang's blade strikes. So any momentum, any impact that Wilt takes, it can be absorbed as power that Adam can unleash backwards. And the way back towards the opponent, I should say. And the way in which he releases it can be in various different ways, as an aura arc, which he can extend his aura outwards as a slash that can be quite devastating and deal very lethal slashing blows. He can also slam it into the ground, creating almost an eruption of aura through the ground that will strike at an opponent. Something that we only saw in Volume 6. I wish we could have seen more of it, but is also pretty devastating. He can also create after images of himself that have physical properties, so he can end up slashing a person multiple times if he stores up enough power, something that can be quite useful if used on the battlefield correctly and if it can take an opponent by surprise. Now, with this being the case, Adam, as I said, is heavily reliant on his weapon. His semblance he seems to only be able to use, or has only been shown to use, through his weapon. He needs Wilt as a conduit for his aura, and it seems as though, at least we've never seen, him using Blush as a weapon either, using it as a blunt weapon in the form of just bludgeoning someone or anything like that. It is a rifle, so he can use it for long-range attacks or fire Wilt from his scabbard, from Blush, and use that as a surprise attack as well. But if he's disarmed, if his opponent can catch on to that, like Tyrion's very capable of catching arrows that Robin fired, not to mention if Adam did that, he could possibly be disarmed. I don't really know if that's something that he would actually do, but this is something that he is, in fact, capable of. But if he happens to be disarmed, it seems as though he's not really that much of a capable fighter. He doesn't use punches or kicks in his fighting style. He only relies on his sword, something that Adam, could lead to him being defeated in various situations, as we saw at the end of Volume 6. So how exactly would a fight play out between these two? Well, first and foremost, these two would be going into the fight blind. Neither of them are aware of each other's capabilities. They do have one common connection between them, being Hazel, but I see no reason as to why Hazel would tell Adam anything about any of the other members of Salem's Inner Circle, and vice versa. I don't really see Hazel telling Tyrion anything about Adam, because it's not like Tyrion would care. So both of these two are going into the fight blind, which would make them, a bit hesitant and aware that, they need to figure out their opponent's capabilities. Adam would not be overcome by his emotions in this fight like he was against Blake and Yang, nor being overconfident. He would be more calm and collected, and try to hold back, gauging Tyrion's capabilities and, what he can do, possibly also trying to take a couple of shots to absorb with his wilt so that he can, use his semblance. Tyrion, on the other hand, he's a bit of a more unpredictable fighter and very confident in his capabilities, so he might start off the fight trying to throw Adam off his game, yelling slurs at him or something like that, but would probably start off by shooting a barrage of bullets, because, send it out as a distraction, try to gauge your opponent's capabilities. Seeing that Adam would be blocking it with his blade, because he's a very quick fighter and very easily can block bullets with wilt, he would be starting to absorb and, store up energy for his semblance. Tyrion would take notice of this extremely quickly, noticing that his bullets are not going to do anything, and that all of a sudden his opponent's blade is starting to glow red. So he would know that, okay, can't let this happen, because, he's going to do something with that. So he would charge in close combat, most likely, because both of these characters are close combat. Adam might try to use blush and fire a couple shots to distract Tyrion, might slightly graze him, but I highly doubt it. Tyrion would be able to either block it with his tail, or just straight up dodge them and be able to get in close combat. Now, with that being the case, Tyrion would of course start slashing with the Queen's servants and using his scorpion stinger, probably trying to end the battle quickly, possibly even using his semblance at this point to try to disrupt Adam's aura, but I think he would hold that off for a more key moment, when he could actually get in close enough and surprise Adam, see what Adam's capable of first, then use his semblance. Adam, taking this opportunity, seeing that Tyrion is getting in close, might block, a couple more attacks, storing up a bit more power, and then use his afterimage technique to get around Tyrion and deal some pretty heavy blows, because Tyrion wouldn't be expecting one opponent to all of a sudden turn into 3 or 4 afterimages and deal consecutive hits that way. So Tyrion would definitely be taking some hits to his aura. After figuring out what it is that Adam's semblance is able to do, because Tyrion's a very, adept at, adapting to the battlefield, seeing what opponents are capable of, and, being able to realize what Adam's semblance can do right away, that it stores up power and he can use it not only to create afterimages, but deal more heavy blows, as he would realize that, this is a lot stronger than what it was before. Another possibility is that when Tyrion is running in close, Adam could send out an aura arc or an aura slash trying to get Tyrion, but Tyrion would probably notice this, dodge it, or possibly even just block it with the Queen's servants. Tyrion would still be able to get in close. After this point, it would be just back and forth, each dealing slight blows here and there. It would be difficult for Adam to deal with Tyrion attacking with 3 of his limbs, his arms and his tail, because Adam only blocks with his sword. He doesn't use blush as a blunt weapon. Now, in this case, he might switch it up, might try to use blush as a blocking weapon and be able to deal with some of Tyrion's attacks that way, but Tyrion, I think, would end up overwhelming him. Adam would start trying to use his semblance to push Tyrion backwards and make it more of a ranged fight, even though that's not what he's used to. Close combat, Tyrion would have the advantage. At which point Tyrion would probably use his semblance to disrupt Adam's aura. And another thing to note, we don't actually know if this aura disruption actually damages a person's aura. I would imagine that it does, but it just kind of creates a gap in the person's aura to deal damage. Don't actually know if it actually depletes a person's aura, but still, Tyrion would be able to use this to his advantage. Sneaking up on Adam, well, not really sneaking up, but being able to possibly cloak his tail in his aura, to be able to brush against his aura with his tail, poison it, and, make a gap in the aura so that he could use one of his Queen's servants to attack Adam. Adam would be taking damage and would slowly be getting, slower and not as fast or capable as the fight went on. He wouldn't be, dismembered or anything like that, losing an arm or a leg or anything that severe, but as a person is getting more injured and is feeling pain throughout their body, they would end up slowing down. Eventually, I do see Tyrion winning this fight against Adam, though that is by no means a guaranteed win. I personally think Tyrion would win, but Adam certainly has the capabilities to win as well. If he could surprise Tyrion with a really strong aura arc using his semblance, Adam could definitely win. This is, out of the 3 fights so far, this is the one that could possibly end up in a draw out of all of them, at least in my mind, because Adam is extremely strong with his semblance, and Tyrion is very, very capable using all of his limbs in his fighting styles, able to balance on his tail, using 4 of his limbs at that point, using his tail to possibly also poison Adam, though the poison in and of itself right away I don't think would be anything debilitating, and if he does poison Adam, we're just going to assume that there's a healer at the side that has the antidote or whatever, but yeah. Overall, I do see Tyrion winning this fight, but, let me know what you guys think in the comments below. I am just one single vote towards who would end up winning this. It is all of you who will end up deciding who wins this fight in the comments below. Let me know what you guys think. Who you think would win and why. Do you think it's semblance advantage, fighting style advantage, the weapon advantage, or what have you? Be as descriptive as you like. I really love seeing how you guys analyze fights differently than I do, and yeah. Let me know how you guys think this fight would turn out, because, this one is honestly a difficult one, as may be the next fight, or the next exhibition match of the Phoenix Festival tournament, because this time around we had some villains fight each other. So let's have some of the main cast turn on each other as well. Let's see who really comes out on top in Bumblebee. We're going to have Yang and Blake fight each other one-on-one, no holds bar, and yeah, see who comes out on top. This is going to be another fun one to analyze. I'm looking forward to it. How about you guys? Let me know also who you'd like to see in fights in the future. Yeah, I have many suggestions so far, and I'm looking forward to analyzing them as the summer goes on. Of course, there'll be more fights to analyze throughout Volume 8 and continuing on past that, and next year's Phoenix Festival tournament, etc. So, yeah. I love hearing your ideas. Make sure to give me some opinions as to who would win this fight. Hopefully you guys are enjoying these types of videos as well as the other RWBY content I put out. Make sure to subscribe if you want to keep up with all of it, then everything that's going on. Tweet me at Phoenix Knight 7, and I'll see you guys in the next video.